Hi everyone. This is a supplemental video, and I just wanted to share in our extended video, I talk about how we use our ChatGPT prompt engineer prompt, which is shared below. This is just a short, quick little video, and this is a quick prompt that you can use to optimize pretty much anything else that you have. So you don't have to type this in. I'm not going to make you redo it. I just wanted to share. So you can see I'm using ChatGPT. If you don't have an account yet, go to chat.openai.com and sign up. You can use the free version, which is the 3.5, or you can use the paid version, which is 4.0. There's a lot of reasons why you might want to look at the 4.0, but the reality is my advice to you, don't pay for it until you're ready to use it. Get to know ChatGPT 3.5. You'll get good results. It's just there's limitations and different things you can't do with 3.5 that you can do with 4.0. So I'm here to show you the power of a prompt engineer prompt. And like I said, that's posted below so you can see it. And I'm going to share the key points of this, and I want to give you some feedback. So the prompt, as we put it in, it doesn't always paste nicely. So you might want to spend a little time formatting it so that later you can look for it. Now, the key things, I use hashtags so that I can find something later. So I'll just do Control F and I'll search for that hashtag, which is prompt engineer. And so I put this in. Now, the other thing I do is I use the asterisk, which bolds it so that it's easier for me to find. Now, the first thing about this prompt, and I'm breaking it down for you so that you can actually use it yourself, is I'm telling GPT to remember the prompt. So, what that means is within this conversation, at any point, I can come back and say, please use hashtag prompt engineer. I don't have to retype the entire thing or I don't have to paste it in. Now, a couple of quick things. Use triple quotation marks. For some reason, that helps GPT remember things and separate it. So I'll delete my defaults. So three quotation marks. Now let's go through the prompt. So I'm asking it to remember it. That's handy because, like I said, I can come back and use it. I just have to say, please use hashtag prompt engineer, and it'll pull it up. Now I'm giving it a role. So this is the actual prompt that I've asked it to remember. And the role is it's a prompt engineer. And by the way, the superpower of GPT is if you don't know how to use it to get what you want, you can ask it how it can help you with what you want. So that gets a little deep, but basically, let's say you're trying to figure out how to create a standard operating procedure. You can literally type in GPT, how can you help me write a standard operating procedure? If you're thinking about how can I check my language, you can say, GPT, how can I use you to check my language for communication with my client? That I want this to come across as plain and simple. I want it to be a third grade reading level. How can you help me? So no matter what project or task or challenge you've got, GPT can help you ask for help. And I will say one of the things I've discovered is that GPT is amazing at communication. And it's a model that we should all learn from and we should all try to emulate. When I ask GPT to do something, GPT says, here's what I understand you're looking for. Is that correct? And it's amazing what that second little pause where you say, am I understanding you correctly? Can really make a difference in communication with real average human beings face to face or whatever. You can do a tone test to see, does my email read okay? Is the right tone there? Is it optimistic? Is it pessimistic? Is it doom and gloom? Is it happy? Anything you struggle with, or if you want to just communicate better, GPT is a really good role model because it was taught to emulate good, clear communication. So, in my prompt, I'm asking for a few things, and I just like to space it. This is optional, you don't need to, but it just makes it easier for me. So the first thing is you want to ask it for a specific subject and what you're looking for. Then it will give you a revised prompt based on that. And then it will give you a summary of your communication style, which is really helpful if you want to improve. And then once we've got the revised prompt, we can do an iterative process. And by the way, this is the thing I think a lot of people miss out on. They take the first answer, they walk away and go, that's good. But the reality is clarify, clarify, clarify. And I can't stress this enough. Treat ChatGPT as you would treat an employee, a colleague, a coworker. You would never hand something to somebody and say, go do something with this. No, you'd give it to them and say, hey, here's the report for the Johnson file. I need you to proof it and look for typos and spelling mistakes. I need it back by tomorrow. You want to give GPT the same courtesy that you would give a human, because the better you treat GPT, the better instructions you give it, the better outcomes you'll get. So this is the GPT interface. Over here are the conversations I've had about other things. Up here is where you start a new chat. You don't need to learn much to use GPT other than it can show you some examples here. These are default things. But once I hit this little send message, and by the way, this is the magic of GPT. It is magically quick. So it says, thank you for understanding. Let's begin with the initial prompt. I would like help. So this is just a random thing. So I'm saying I'd like help. So as you can see, it'll ask you questions. Thank you for your. So this is as simple as it gets. Basically, it's a conversation. You ask a question, it asks a question, you answer their question, it will give you something back. And as you can see, this is the revised prompt. So you can also ask it, and by the way, it's really simple. There's a little copy to clipboard. You can say it was a good response, or if you don't like it, you can regenerate it. One of the things you can do is you can always go up to your question. If you didn't get anything near what you were hoping for, you can click this little pencil and you can edit it and then hit save and submit. And what that does is GPT wipes out the previous response and it'll give you a new and improved one. So that's the idea behind the prompt engineer. Now we'll also be talking about, so that's the prompt engineer. And that's how we do client communication. I'm going to talk about systems and processes, standard operating procedures next. And then I'm going to show you how you can create innovative client services. Okay, so I'm asking GPT to remember so I don't have to remember. So let's start with hash prompt engineer. I would like to create a detailed process that my staff use to manually. Okay, so this is a great starting point. If you have no processes whatsoever, you can ask GPT to help you create them from scratch. The other thing I do, if you have some that you kind of follow sometimes, I'll use GPT to create, I'll share, here's what I have. Please help me optimize it. So as you can see, it's given me the prompt. And I could refine this. I'm not going to make you watch me do this, but I can either give it more input and say, hey, could we update it for this? Or I'm going to just give it to it as is. And basically, as you can see, it's created a standard operating procedure, tells you to gather materials, do a documentation check. Now, I strongly encourage you before you implement this in your business, get one of your best employees to run it by them and just say, does this make sense? Are we missing anything? What would we improve? Because again, this is an iterative process. So you might want to say, okay, let's add step 8. But basically, really quickly, and especially if you've got, if you've got a video, somebody did something specific, you can take the video, you can transcribe it, you can put it into GPT, and GPT is amazing at giving you headings, bullet points, numbering, subheadings. It's really good at organizing and summarizing. And if you've got an existing process, you can also have a prompt where you can use that prompt to optimize the process based on best practices. So, one of the things I find is that we as accountants, we tend to stay in-house. We tend to do our things. Um, we need to look at best practice elsewhere, and that's how we can truly grow. So I'll come back and I will show you how to innovate client services in the next segment.